Hello everyone, welcome back. Tonight I'm going to take another run at that flipper control that I've done some work on a few streams ago and few before that. It's the last thing that's stopping me from a material design and XAML release, and I've been trying to decide whether I kick the release out or actually try to get this fix in. I really would like to get this fix in place, as this has been the source of a bunch of bugs, but if I can't get it solved tonight, there may be a release coming without this fix in, and I'll just punt it yet one more release down the line. I hate doing that. So, quick refresher for people. So, when last we met, we were doing something with this flipper control here, and specifically this guy. And there was a use case that came up where the user had a bunch of animating controls inside of the flipper, but because the flipper was always using a visual brush, those things were not reflected accurately. So now I've got it to the point where it is reflecting accurately, but you'll note you'll see the visual brush kind of lingering there for a little bit, and then more importantly, you also see that kind of weird animating effect where it's only animating about halfway through. So you'll note it flips halfway through the flip, the image goes away and you don't see the new content coming in. So I want to fix that. And then I want to see if I can fix this hanging out here. I think the issue here is the duration needs to be set, but I don't know for certain, so we're going to test. 0.4. Because this guy should be controlling this guy fairly effectively. Because the plane 3D, which has that, should be what's being toggled. I'm just going to double check this because you can see it swaps the actual content at the very end. Let's see here. So what is this? Visibility unflipped. In both of these cases, it goes to collapsed. Starts collapsed. So these things should not be leaving it visible. Let's set the duration on both of these because I have a hunch that this duration not being set is part of why we see that lingering happening. And because I don't trust the hot reload yet. Hot reload is great when it works. I've just run into too many cases where it works some of the time, which is not overly great. I would prefer if it would work all the time or not at all. So we're gonna nope, that is still lingering. Oh, it only lingered on the one side. Oh, no, it did linger on both. Okay, so there's a couple things I want to do. I would like the 3D plane, the thing that's actually doing that animation. Right now, what we did before is we, at the point it goes to flip, it sets this visual content, which is great, except for this only sets effectively one side of the flipper. And so once you get past that halfway point, it doesn't really matter anymore. So I would like to get it so that it doesn't do that. And it has, as it's flipping, it actually has the content on both sides. That would be ideal. The other thing I would like to get it to do is resize halfway. And that's what this guy here was designed to try and do. We might just put this back real quick and see how well this works. I don't think this is going to do a lot. I don't think we actually need this, because I think what we can actually do is we can trigger a remeasure of this guy as it's doing the flip. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do is we're going to have the flipper watch the 3D plane, and when it crests that mark, it's going to auto remeasure. Let's see. So it's well, hang on. What is this doing? It starts at 0, goes to -90. So it's adjusting the y-axis. Okay, so I gotta switch my brain into 3D mode real quick. So it's rotating around about the y-axis. Okay, so that's effectively doing this maneuver. So it starts at 0, goes -90, goes +90, and then 0. Trying to understand. Oh, I see. Basically, when it's perpendicular to us, it's flipping to the other one and then spinning around. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Okay, so that flip there from 90 to -90 is where it matters. Because you'll note both of these things are occurring at the same time. And because they have the same key time, what will end up happening is it's going to do what's called tweening, that basically figure out the animation points from point A to point B over the course of 0.2 seconds. And so it figures out, based on a number of things, what points that will end up being. Once it gets to 90, it flips to -90 and then spins back. So this entire thing is rotating about the y-axis. Okay, so we could actually watch for when the value goes positive to negative will be the center of the flip. Shouldn't be too hard. Okay, so let's start with just getting that thing figured out. So I think the flipper here, where is the apply template? Where's your apply template? On apply template, take me there. There we are. So after we get the plane 3D, so how about if plane 3D is not null, we can use new C# syntax. We are going to go plane 3D we want to register up on the dependency property, because that's one option, or we could give ourselves something to watch. I don't know what sounds better in this situation, because we could do, well, what is the generic? There's a way to end up watching these things. Yeah. Just ask the magical Google. Yeah. Oh, yuck. If the depends upon is property change callback. Yeah, I don't like those options. We're just going to add ourselves a property here. So rotation Y. And this is the callback here already. Let's see. Well, let's see. What does update rotation do? Let's just give this guy a new event that people can work with. So public event handler rotation changed. Let's see, event. And then we are going to create a new we need ourselves a new Eventargs class. Just gonna do here while we're in here. File scope namespace. Booyah. Plus indentation. Public class rotation changed Eventargs. Eventargs, and then we will just include all of the, because they're all just doubles, right? Yeah. So public double X Y Z. And then I should be able to auto code this guy into generate constructor. Add parameter to constructor. Add. Oh, well, that didn't. You got half of it right. Oh, autocode will do the rest. Thank you. Thank you, autocode. You are wonderful. I really do appreciate you, IntelliCode. Okay, so we will have this guy come here. And this guy is going to be one of these. Okay, and then on that update rotation. Okay. So we will go. What do I call it? Rotation changed. Invoke this new rotation X Y. Boom. Okay. That. Okay, so then this guy will just register up for it. Rotation changed. Now, we had a question come up on the stream a while back about when do you need to unregister for these events, because event handlers are a wonderful way to leak memory in many situations. And in this case, it will not be an issue, simply because what will end up happening is the plain 3D will implicitly contain a reference to the flipper, which in this case is perfectly fine, because at the point where the flipper is going away, the plain 3D will be going away as well. So that circular reference, one of them is not going to have a longer lifespan than the other. So we're good. Okay, so at this point, let's see, double last rotation Y, and actually let's make you nullable. So because we know we're going from positive to negative, right? Yeah, so if last rotation Y is greater than 0 and E dot rotation Y is less than 0, mid flip. Else, let's see here. What are you squawking about? Use of unassigned variable last. Oh. Fine. Hush. Quiet. Quiet, quiet, quiet. Let's see. Else. Actually, I guess this really shouldn't be in an else block, so we should just always set it. Okay, so this is the point where we now want to change the content. So I'd like to do exactly what we're doing on the other one. And then want to do this maneuver. Boom. Okay, so I don't need flipper. We've already got flipper in this case. Just this, so we can drop that. Drop that. And then this was being based upon is flipped. This is going to be is flipped. And then this here is going to actually be directly inverted. Because as you're going across, we want to change it up. This goes like this. And I think what we should see then is the content of this guy swapped. So rather than seeing the old content at the end, you should see the new one appropriately placed. At least that's the game plan. See how well that works. Okay. That still had the old stuff. But let's make sure we're actually getting into this mid-flip thing. Right about where one would expect. If I move this, yeah, that flips about halfway across. Okay, so is flipped is going to false, so we're going to grab the front content, which is where we're heading to. That's an interesting perspective. We've hit this multiple times now. This is an interesting problem in that I can't render what's not visible. Can't render what isn't visible. So how do I make the content visible? I hate to duplicate the content. Maybe that's the easiest option, is duplicate the visual tree rather than this render bitmap stuff. Because what it's running into is we get halfway through that flip and it goes to swap the content, and at least with that breakpoint in there, we conveniently hit it. But because the content was not marked as visible, it wasn't able to render it. I don't know if we'll hit this again. Turn this off. It's probably timing dependent, I would imagine. Nope, we're just repeatedly hitting it on the flip back. It's surprising me that we're hitting it on one on the way back and not the other. That is actually very surprising to me. Were we doing some sort of measuring to this thing beforehand? And look. Okay, so we're gonna do a couple things because I want to make this a little more obvious. Well, hang on, I should be getting the name of these. Let's try this again. So both of these are there. That should work. Huh. I'm somewhat wondering if there might be an easier approach to this. Because I've been going at this from the approach of the plain 3D, but I'm wondering if perhaps there's a better option. We'll consider that here in just a moment. I might want to try something slightly different. Very interesting. Okay, so I want to try one more thing. Just for grins. I'm kind of curious if I can do this animation a little bit differently. Because this is entirely based around that plain 3D, which does the bitmaps and the re-rendering and all of that jazz. Which is the problematic part. But if we're already going to this effort, I'm kind of wondering if we can do something a little more fancy. So we're gonna try. I want to try something new. Content presenter. So there are two types of transforms. There is a layout transform and a render transform inside of WPF. The key part with these is that is the point at which they occur. The layout transform will affect layout. So if you have a layout transform and you shift your content by, say, a scale, right? So let's just imagine that we're going to scale our X by a factor of 2. If you do it as a layout transform, all of the elements around will see this content presenter scaled out twice as big on the X-axis horizontally. Whereas if you do it as a render transform, the layout won't be affected, but the rendered size will. So when it's doing its measuring to figure out how big it needs to be, it won't take this into account. But if you do it as a layout transform, it will. Render transform is a lot quicker because it doesn't affect layout. But it also has the drawback of, because it doesn't affect layout, your other elements around aren't going to like move and adapt to you. Because normally in WPF, as a control gets bigger, by default it'll fill its container. So if you scale it out in a layout transform, your container gets bigger to hold it and everything responds accordingly. That's great, but that can be quite expensive if you try to animate across that. Typically for animations, you want to be animating a render transform. But that also means you need to take into account the fact that nothing around you is going to know that you've shifted. So, but in our case, we just want to occupy the same size. So I'm kind of wondering if we can get away with something here. And I'm kind of wondering, because that won't spin me across the right axis. And I think I have to go with a matrix transform, which I think is what the plain 3D is actually doing with that. I'm gonna have to remember my matrix transform. This is using a perspective camera to spin it. So it is using both. There's a scale, so scale, center. I don't know if we actually care about this. I don't know if we care about this at all. Sorry, I'm just looking at what this is doing here. What does it use this rotation transform for? I understand why it might need scale, but I don't understand. So it's got a transform group of scale and rotation. The problem is we want to go across the y-axis, and rotation transform isn't going to go across the y-axis. Okay, so I want to try this with a matrix transform. Transform. I want to see. Yeah, I want to look at rotation by angle, because if we do, say, a 45-degree rotation, try it. Love to try it. Spin. Go. How do I make it go? Oh, enter. Okay, so that, okay. See, that's the problem, is we don't want to spin that way. 2. That's not quite what we want either. 2. Also not quite what I'm looking for. These are not. These are. Oh, this is a problem. This matrix isn't big enough. Blah 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 blah. Setting up a view matrix. Look at point. I at up. Yeah, this looks more like what I'm interested in. See, I am interested in understanding the rotation about a separate axis, and I do not remember my linear algebra well enough. Matrix rotation on X. Let's see. So cosine, sine, blah, blah, blah. Do you know what we're going to do real quick? We're going to spin a test app, because I cannot remember how this works. So we are going to play, I think, is the way we're going to do this. So let's spin an app and, unintended, spin something inside of it. I'm curious how this goes. Worst case scenario, I learned something, because I cannot remember how this, unless this thing's going to give it to me right here. Translations. Yeah. That's not what I want. Okay, so let's come over here. So we're going to go here. So we're going to go to the example project that I just dump all my samples in. I think I got some sort of like animation, or do I have one? Yeah, animation. Add new project. Okay, so WPF application sounds great. Let's go with matrix transform. Boom, boom, boom. And we are going to not put you inside of there. We're going to put you inside of animation. Select. Next. .NET 6 sounds great. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go with a grid. We'll have a couple columns. So we'll have a column definition. Hey, don't delete it. Ask for a column definition. Pretty please. Column definition, we'll do a width of like 300. Sure. And then we'll do a column definition of width 1 star. So the rest will fill. Okay. So we're going to start with this. We're going to have a border. We're going to have a name of border. Background red. Make it big, obvious. It will have a width of 200, a height of 200. It will be, and we are going to put it in grid column 1. Great. Okay. We will have a stack panel on this side with a vertical alignment of center. Inside of the stack panel, we're going to just start putting some stuff in. Actually, this stack panel should probably be... I think we're going to make it a grid, actually. Because I'm sort of thinking what might be nice is a grid with 3 columns, 3 rows. And we'll just put a text box inside of them. And those will represent the individual elements of the matrix. Let's see. So height gets auto, and width gets. We should probably fix these each at, I don't know. Well, the whole thing's 300 wide, so give it a little patty. We'll go 80. 80 apiece. Okay, so that'll be fine. Vertical alignment center. Put you in the middle. I'll make my designer a little bigger so we can kind of watch this thing build out. Okay, so we're gonna go with text box. Let's see, X name M1 and grid column 0, grid row 0. These are technically defaulted to 0, so we don't need this, but I'm about to copy and paste a bunch. So I want to make sure I get this right. So let's see, 1 1 1 2 1 3. Yeah, I think we're gonna do just the upper 3. So 1 1, 2 1 3. So this will be 1 2, and then we will copy this, paste. This will be 2. This will be 1. Paste. This will be 3. This will be 2. Boom. There we go. Bob's your uncle. Okay, so set as startup. Probably fine for now. Let's see. Bump alignment center. Get that thing off the edge. Great. Okay, so what I'd kind of like to do, cleans you up. Let's go namespace, clean you up, and okay, so border. Didn't I call that thing border? Name about target, just to eliminate the confusion. Target render transform gets new matrix transform. Oh, confused because I named my namespace or my project matrix transform. So system Windows Media. How about using matrix transform equals nope. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. No, stop helping me. I have auto cleanup set and it's kind of annoying at the moment. Okay. There. So, matrix transform. And we want it to have matrix values. This way transforms. Okay, so identity multiply parse. Huh. I wonder if I two-string that guy, if I can get a. It's interesting. It's formatable, but it doesn't show a two-string. Got it. So this is prepend rotate skew transform. See, this is where I think this is more what we're going to be looking for, is to transform this guy. Yeah, we are gonna look, but we'll see how this goes. So matrix identity. Okay, so he's gonna start like that. And then we are going to do a TextChanged. We're going to rename this just TextChanged. And we will end up binding all of the text boxes to this same thing. So, let's see. We are going to have int get value text box TB. So, if int try parse, and I think what we're going to do is int default value tb.text int. Oh, and actually we should probably do this as a double. I think that's what all of the individual ones on that matrix are anyway. Doubles. Let's see, double parsed value, else return default value. So I'm only doing that because I want to use the existing one on there. So existing will be target. Let's cache this real quick. Private and transform. I think we can. I think you can set that directly. New. Okay. Okay. So target. So this will actually be just transform dot matrix, and this is the property I believe is settable. Yeah, get set. Perfect. So we will do transform dot matrix gets new matrix. is actually going to end up being new. And then this is where we're going to have to specify values. It's interesting to me that it doesn't show us all of the possible values. Oh, because some of them aren't relevant. Oh, maybe this is why it's not being used. Okay. Okay, so this is going to actually be get value M11 and then existing M11. We're just going to rinse repeat this for every single one of them. Get value M12 existing M12 21 22 21 21 2 2, and then it's interesting that they have offset XY, which I think are actually what we've labeled 31 32. Regardless, that's what we're going to use. 31 32. I'm kind of going from the hip here because that X offset Y. This may end up being the reason why the 3D plane was used. But given what we're trying to do, oh, we didn't register up the other text change handlers. We technically don't need to register them all, but we're going to, just for simplicity's sake. Okay. And now we try it. See how it works. See how it works. See if we can do some animation. Okay, so if I change you to a 2, that worked pretty well. If I change you to a 1, I don't expect to change. If I change you to a 1, because the default matrix should look something like this. We didn't bind anything to these other ones, so these ones won't do a darn thing. See if I do 4 0. That might be the reason for this, is no matter what I do here, there's not going to be a clean, no matter what I do, there will not be a clean setup for this. That is probably why this thing is not exposing it. That would also be why. Okay, I'm a little surprised. I'm gonna just confirm my suspicions. WPF BD Eventargs. Translate, transform, 3D. So I know this is somewhat possible because Snoop does it. Wait. Transform 3D. Okay. I just want to confirm. Are you a regular? Can I just assign you to a I don't think I can just assign you to a... Yeah, what I was thinking is that wasn't going to be possible. So how does one end up doing this? View box. Oh, so this is going back to that perspective camera again. Oh, dang it. But this is a heck of a lot simpler than the other one. Without light, the 3D object cannot be seen. Okay, so I actually have a theory here, because I think what I want to do is whatever Snoop must be doing something similar to this. Let's go with Spelunky. Visualize 3D view. This is kind of like what we're looking for. My Amazon device is speaking to me, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. Okay. This looks a heck of a lot nicer. This looks a heck of a lot nicer. For visual to model 3D. Yeah. This be what I want to play with. I would like to play with this. Yeah, so let's look at this, because I think this might be a lot easier than trying to do the... Oh, and this has already been updated for latest C# versions. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Love everything about this. Okay, so we are going to take this thing for a little spin. All right, just trying to decide where I want to put this. Let's take this and put it in the example project real quick. Let's see. So that's going to be here, here. Sorry, I'll bring it back on screen in just a moment. To make sure I don't accidentally do something stupid. I've been known to do every so often. Okay, so this is going to go into here. Sure, save. Okay, so let's take a little look-see here. So step 1, stop debugging. Step 2, change namespace, and then give credit where credit is due. Did I close that? I did. Let's see. Taken from... Okay, so clean that up, and then trackball behavior, we don't care about that. Just gonna get rid of that. Get rid of that. We're gonna manipulate this in a variety of different ways. Mesh freeze if possible. I don't know what that method does. Let's go here. Freeze if possible. Freezable extensions. Okay. Just borrow that method real quick. Pretty simple one. Slap that in there. Private. Okay. And then that should be... Then we just move. Mesh goes here. Material goes here. Boom, 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 boom. And we've got one more in here. Okay. So that gets us there. Visual capture utils. Grab the image brush. So this thing is still somewhat doing the same image brushy stuff. We're gonna turn you off for the moment. Stop yelling at me. I need to go find this guy. Show me that. Just gonna go raw. Probably just gonna strip down the one bit that we need. Okay, so specifically we're looking for render visual, render visual. So I'd like to bring just you over, and we're gonna go private on that. We'll drop the class name. You become that. I assume base DPI, yeah, just a fixed constant. Put that at the top too. Something like that. And binding flags requires reflection. Ooh. Wow. That's exciting. Render for bitmap effect. It is in fact non-public. That's pretty cool. Okay, so that means we don't need any more. And you extension method. So the one I copied in is no bueno. Okay, but that should get us something we can play with. This is a viewport 3D. Just fine. We go back over to here. This guy here. We can just put you down, I think. We can just add you into our main window. So and logical child. Can I change this thing up to be later? Doesn't look like it. Does it seem... I'm wondering if this is going to run amok of the idea of this thing get content visual bounds of wanting to actually have the thing rendered first. Let's put it behind a button, I think. Just, no. Dear Visual Studio, please stop doing that. Let's put you behind a button, methinks. Button. I don't know. Click. Event handler. Grid. Row 2. Grid. Column 2. Boom. Just make that cell a button for now. And on button click. We'll go our 3D view gets new visual 3D view. I want this guy to be target. and it wants a DPI. I think what we're going to do is make you optional. I'm guessing, where do you get used? Right there? Yeah. So we're going to do that and go base DPI. Cannot convert from double to int. Sure you can. I don't want to think too much about DPI at the moment, and then we're going to do, let's go over here and go grid column 1, boom, view up, we will do grid row definitions. We're going to just do a couple rows, equal spacing. You're going to sit there. Name, content, grid. So rather than adding that there, so grid set row of view will be row 1. And then we will do Mr. Adam. Doing well. So I've started down a rabbit trail, as I often do. I am trying to rethink the flipper control, and I am shamefully stealing from Snoop. So if we I don't know. Here, we'll just target Visual Studio. So if you fire up Visual Studio and you find a one of these guys, this guy, that'll work. If you open up the magnifier window, you'll note this thing has a 3D view that allows you to do this kind of stuff to the elements, which is pretty cool. And I'm trying to see if I can leverage the 3D control inside of Snoop to do the flipper control for material design. That's the thinking, because whoop, 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 that looks a lot like flipper to me. So we're trying it, and right now we're playing with the control in a separate app just for grins. Let's see. Whoopsie, and here we see the problem with attaching Snoop. Right. I shouldn't have done that. Some of Visual Studio gets very, very unhappy if you snoop it. So, but proof in the pudding, parts of Visual Studio are WPF. So, long live WPF. Okay, so let's go back here and go content grid, children, add you. I think that should be good enough to make it work. Find out. Because I want to see if we can get, if this other control works and I can make it work well enough. Okay, so that clearly did something. That's big. Okay, so new plan of attack here. Step 1, this whole thing needs to be in a scroll viewer, because darn it, I need to be able to scroll this thing up and down. So step 1, we're going to give me scroll bars. Okay. So apparently doing that caused I rest my case. The hot reload is great until it's not, and then you restart your app. For whatever reason, my test windows are going crazy. There are no unit tests. Hands off. Hands off. Because I wanted to do something fancy with like a matrix transform just directly on the content presenter. I have since learned, potentially relearned, that that is not reasonably possible with the WPF 3D transform bits. Hey, where'd you go? Launch. They are, if you want to do it, you have to use the perspective camera, and well, that requires some other stuff. Okay, so that gets me better. Okay. Well, the scroll bars are problematic. Okay, so, but that is good-ish. The thing renders. Yeah, sure, fine. Fix the line endings. Okay, so now the question is, what are the things to do? So Z-scale is set to 1 by default, which is fine. We may adjust that a little bit. I'm kind of curious what happens if, let's see, view vertical alignment center, view horizontal alignment gets horizontal alignment center. So rather than having it fill, I bet you it's a little cleaner if we just center that guy up. Either that or it's going to shrink all the way down and have no concept of its size. Nope, still going to be big. Okay. So something about that makes it go big. That's fine-ish, I guess. Make brush from visual. It does the needful. And then it does a render visual, where it does a whole bunch of stuff and does render target bitmap. Has some cool stuff in here. I'm interested to know where the thing does the rotation, and I'm wondering if that's the behavior that I unfortunately nixed. Transform 3D, model transform. So this guy here is what's doing this. So model transform. If I could just hunt this guy and probably get a pretty good idea of where you're going. These bounds are probably being set largest, which is where these things are coming in from. I assume these bounds are probably based upon wherever it's that scale transform 3D. Descale transform, blah blah. I want to know Z-scale. So we can make Z-scale go bigger and smaller. That's fine, but that's not really what I want. I want to modify you so I can make you this guy. No, this is a translate offset. That's just XY. We don't care about that. If matrix is not identity, it does a 3D matrix and then sets that into the model. I'm happy about this, but where something in here needs to not just be using identity values. Something has to change it. Let's see, push transform, offset matrix transform. But this is legitimately just a XY shift. That's not going to do anything other than that. This guy here is doing something very similar to what we did on our version. Okay. Question is where... Let me go back to that plain 3D real quick, because it was doing something very interesting on the rotation. Update 3D, because I think this is probably where we lost it. Field of view in radians. And then it rotated it by setting the camera property on the perspective camera. Oh, I wonder if something outside of this guy is setting it. Hang on, let's go back to Snoop. Back to Snoop's code. Let's go hunting this guy. The only perspective camera is here. Huh. It has a this can. Oh. Oh. So I bet you the magical incantation is that camera property. So. Okay. I bet you that behavior that I so callously got rid of changes the camera property on this thing somewhere else. Let's go a looking. Oh look, trackball behavior. Touching a projection camera. What a shock. Okay, so this is what is grabbing and moving it around. Okay, so where do you do your assignment back? One of you guys, somebody around here is doing a viewport assignment. Okay, so get direction, get position, update camera. I would like to see that method, please. Okay, so you grab the camera, pull the matrix, matrix.rotate, and you do that maneuver. Okay, so this be what I want to do. This be what I want to do. I just want to do it programmatically and not with the mouse. Okay, so on TextChanged, we're going to kind of throw all of this away. All that goes away. Okay, so we want to do this. And we want to grab... we're just going to cache this guy. Private, paste, you. Okay, we'll do that. And then down here, and I'm only doing this because I think this, because this class's constructor takes in a visual, I suspect it needs the other element already rendered before it'll work. I don't know that for a fact, but I think so. So this ends up becoming view, camera, and that goes like this. We do no coalescing and oof. Okay, so we need a look at point, a distance, a zoom, and a look direction. And really what I'd like to do is just get this to the point where I can set those, something simple like the rotation on the other one. Let's go back here. This looks like what I could do. Because I'm thinking what I need is a combination of this plain 3D control and the other one, and the Snoop one, field of view. What is assigning field of view on this? Find all reference. Is field of view always 0? No, what's the default? Property metadata. 45. No, 179.9. Oh, this is a callback. Yeah, the default value is 45. So 40, I assume 45 degrees because it's then being converted to radians. Look along the Z right distance based on the field of view. Name is the projected size of the 2D content that it's looking at for derived camera. Okay, so I see all of this stuff happening, but I'm left wondering how. I'm now confused as to how this control is working. Update rotation. Ah. Ahaha. Got it. This guy's being applied. Rotation transformation. Okay, see, I think this thing has a lot more going on to it than we actually need. Which is why I'm more inclined to take the Snoop one and dumb this guy down. Okay, so this rotation transform gets used where? Really just here, which gets applied to the back model. Model 3D group, and that has the lights so that we can see it. One of the lights is at -1Z. And then slightly shifted. And then 1Z. Okay. Go back to our example one. Just trying to make sure I understand this. So directional light 1, directional light 2. So this one, there's no intent to subtly offset it. There's just 1 and -1, which kind of makes sense. This is the group that would get the transform applied to it. It's just got the scale transform. It's not adding extra stuff to it, which makes me believe that the rotational transform is not necessary. But in our case, the rotational transform is needed because we would like to mutate that. Okay, so I need me one of these guys. And I would like to put it... We'll figure this out. Okay, so... We're going to do that for the moment. And... this guy, I believe, just needs to be a transform group. If I'm not mistaken. Rotation transform. Yeah, transform 3D group. That's going to contain the scale and the rotation. We will come back over here. This is a transform. Group is the model. So Z-scale transform goes here. Let's see. And then rotation transform comes from... Oh, it's just straight up instantiated. You don't... we might need it. So we're gonna grab that too. Let's see, rotation transform gets new. And I think what we can do is we can actually cheat a little bit because this thing is reassigning the rotation here, and I don't think we ever... get away with this? We might not be. Oh, we probably can't get away with this because we're in static context there. Okay, fine. Rotation gets... there. Okay. And that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. You now get that group. Okay, let's just restart it. Nothing should have changed so far. What's your problem? What did I mess up? Oh, hold please. So nothing should have changed. It should still work. It should be in a working state. So you come here. Okay, here's to work as we did before. Great. Okay, so we've got that. We've got that. Okay, so let's take this guy and take a look at its rotation bits. Because when we are only animating rotation Y, which means the rest of these should all get... we're going to just copy this method. I think we're going to want something like this in here. Okay. So... these things have 3 axes. Okay, so I think that's... because we're going to end up rebuilding part of that thing. What do you end up getting used for? Oh, is that literally it? Okay. And then rotation X and Z are going to have their default values. So 0 and let's field of view 0. Those guys we can hard code to 0 for the moment. So rotation X is going to be 0. Rotation Z is going to be 0. Okay. Double rotation Y. We're going to just do that. And then that goes in and gets applied and everyone's happy. Okay, so then we come back over to our code behind. And what we are going to do is we are going to go with if view is view. So we'll do a not null check. View. Let's see. Get value. We'll use M31 for this with a default of whatever the rotation Y defaults to. Default is 0. Let's see. Double rotation. Okay, and then this should be as simple as view dot rotation. Did you did I not make that public? Nope. Update rotation. Rotation. Okay. As we type, we should be able to just swing the thing around. That's the animation. Okay, so give me a box. Give me a big box. Okay, so if I come over here and type in 10, starts to swing. 25. There we see why we need scale. Let's see. Go 45. I think it's huge. 10. Negative 10. Negative 45. Okay, well okay, so this somewhat makes sense. Because our camera origin is not adjusting, but we can now make this thing spin. Okay. So I like this. I like being able to test it right here and make this thing go. Okay, so we're gonna keep going with this. So the plane 3D had a scale that was being applied to it. D factor. What's this even being used? Okay, so scale. So how is this working? So update rotation was called. Let's go back up here. So when we were modifying the rotation Y, it calls update rotation. But update 3D must be getting invoked from somewhere. Ah, on a range. And this is how it's determining its target size. Ah ha ha, and this is probably part of my problem. So it's trying to figure out its target bounds. And I feel like I just want to tell it this rather than having it try to figure it out. Okay, so it's using the logical bounds to get the width and the height of its target size. So it needs to know how big the thingy is that it's wrapping. And it uses those to figure out a Z value. Field of view. So we were never changing this. The field of view was always 45. So we can do something like this. So let's come back over here. Okay, so, and then we're going to do something like, I don't know, update 3D. Update 3D. Boom. Okay, so this guy here is going to be get descendant bounds for sizing and center desired size and layout white space, whereas get descendant bounds is tighter. I don't think I want either of these things. What did we do with the visual once it came in? Did we just throw it away? Oh, this is part of the reason for the sizing. It's hard-coded. Oh, let's make that go away. Convert to visual. Visual comes in here. Does some stuff. Bounds get set. Bounds. Turn you off for the moment. Transform matrix. Does a bunch of stuff to it. Kind of thinking we just, well, real quick, we're going to comment this out. I want to make sure that my changing of the hard-coded width and height doesn't make a big difference, because that was almost assuredly the reason for it being so massive. Okay, but not having any size is also clearly problematic. Okay, so we're going to come down here. Width gets visual dot about if the visual is framework element. Which will work for now. We'll probably need something slightly more advanced when we get there, but for now it should have there some size. And now when I do 45, it should still be big. 20. So it's panning, but it's not going quite where we want it. Okay. Okay, that's getting better. I think what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this. And we're going to just grab our size, width and height. Okay, we will do var field of view equals 45. The double. Z factor, I think, was never changing. I don't know why it was defaulting to 2, but we'll go with it. Okay, viewport 3D is grabbing the camera. I think we are the viewport. We just do that. Scale transform has a different name. So that works there. Let's see if this works. So now hopefully as we type, we can kind of manually simulate this. So give me a box. We're all happy. I type in 20 and it disappears. 1, 0. Something went bye-bye. Okay. Let's try this again. Show me a box. Okay. We come in here, width 200, height 200, not shocking. Build a view 45. Build a view in radians. Z-axis, y-axis, field of view, width, height, scale. This scale seems very wrong. Scaling it to 200. See, that looks better to me. Feels like we could be setting some of these things up front. But we're going to turn that off because I think that's going to be highly problematic given the values that are being passed in there. Okay, try again. Definitely did a major shift. 10, 20, 40, 50. Let's see, 80, 90. Okay, so the rotation origin, I think, does need to be set. Let's do that. But we can do this here. Rotation transform center. We're doing center X and center Y. but we can do these based upon the... Oh, I guess we actually need to do it down here where we have some sizing, width, height. So let's leave those in. Bring this over here. Load me up. 20. 30. Okay, so we're still getting that shift, and I have to believe this. I'm missing something obvious. Either the field of view is being overwritten somewhere that I don't understand, because field of view seems odd that it would be 45 to default. Maybe I'm just not understanding something, but let's just do a quick search. Yep, those are the only usages of field of view based on text. Let me just make sure I wasn't filtering on any weird files or anything. Nope. Entire solution. So it... Okay. Is Z factor being adjusted and I just didn't realize it? I think so, but let's just hunt it and make sure I'm not missing something obvious. Okay, so those are all the ones we expect. Z factor is technically being a set. The value is slightly different than 2. But stuff like that makes me assume that it may have just been doing that to trigger the update rotation. So we can mimic that. I'm actually going to go var Z factor gets that. And put this back to Z factor. I'm a little surprised the scale transform is getting set the way it is. The scale transform is here. Scale X and scale Y are being set to the width and height. That just seems so very wrong, because a scale of 1 scale transform 3D. Let's just make sure. Maybe I've got the wrong. Scale transform 3D. It goes into the model. This look at point could be problematic. Kind of tempted to just take this scaling out for the moment. See what happens. I'm wondering if it's not being scaled, if it will actually behave the way I want. The fact that this thing shifts all the way over on a 0 makes me suspect there's something else at play that I'm missing. Oh, look at that. There's field of view, hard-coded to 45. Look at that. There is... Okay. There is some camera setup stuff being done up here. Okay, so what is going on here? So this is look at point. Model bounds. I wonder if we could actually just switch to using this over here. Model gets assigned where? Group. The last item in the group. Model 3D visual. Okay, so we could get the bounds back out. That wouldn't be horrible. Now this is doing more or less the same thing. Field of view. So hold on though, they are setting a position. The camera distance. The only change here let's eliminate this update 3D bit because I'm wondering now that I've gotten that. Okay. Okay, so I find it interesting that the rotation angle seems to have inverted. But it's now centered about the right thing. Okay, so we've got a negative in here that's different. So the only difference is this guy here, I think, because this vector here is, I believe, the z-axis. Yeah, so that's z-axis, so we can filter that down. Z-axis. This one, I think, is negative y-axis. Might account for the, because this one's doing negative z-axis and this one's doing negative y-axis. Okay. Field of view is hard-coded there at 45, which is fine. And so then the only difference is this look at point, which is, let's see, the x. So this is just getting this is the 3D point of the center of our object, because it's grabbing the x coordinate, adding half of the x to go halfway across, y coordinate plus half of y. So this is legitimately, if you imagine our model bounds as a cube, this is dead center of the cube. So we are looking at the center point, and then camera distance is the x width halfway. So we are backing the camera up. Yeah, so this is going to be going backwards. So we start at the very center of our cube, and then we back the camera up along the z-axis, right? Yeah. We back the camera up along the z-axis. So let's see, hold on, order of operations here. It's going to do the tangent. So field of view, which is set to 45 degrees, converted to radians. half of that, so half of a 45-degree angle, divided by half of the horizontal size. So I think the intent there is to just... How does that end up working? I'm a little confused by the radian division here. And I'm maybe just missing it, but clearly this thing backs up the camera for it. Okay. That's all that is doing. This one here was adjusting that point as it was going. Center of the z-axis. I think that's fine. Though that also makes me realize that this guy here should almost assuredly be bounds size X, bounds size Y. Okay, so I don't think this completely fixes it, but it should maintain parity. Okay, so that's there. 20 degrees. Rotates out now. 45, really big. Minus 20, gets smaller. Minus 45, gets smaller because the rotation is occurring right along this axis here. And what I'd really like to do is switch the rotation such that it occurs across the middle. I'm a little curious what this value here is. I would have sort of expected this is size X to be 200 because that's the size of... Okay, so it is. So center X of the rotation transform okay. Just gonna set that to 100 while we're in here real quick, just to see. I don't think it's gonna make any difference, but it's definitely changing. So let's think about this for a moment. Aside from this camera distance, and this perspective camera takes in exactly what? A position, which we give it. We start from the center of our mesh and go backwards. And we are looking at the... Oh, hang on. X, Y, Z. We're looking down the Z-axis. Up direction is I guess it really doesn't matter whether it's negative y or positive y, does it? In this case, it's really not going to make any difference. I guess it does matter whether the origin is bottom left, as I'm assuming, or top left. Not a big deal for the moment, but if things appear upside down, that will be why. And then field of view is what? I guess maybe that's the parameter I'm not fully understanding. Width of the camera, angle of projection specified in degrees. Oh, okay. So this really shouldn't need to change. And rotation. So I guess the question then is, I don't understand what this is. I'm curious if maybe this is just being complicated due to the math here, and I want to look at what else is in here. Represents a 3D rotation of a specified angle about a specified axis. Hallelujah. That sounds remarkably like exactly what I'm trying to do. Axis, angle. Hey, let's try that. That sounds like exactly what I want. Okay, when in doubt, read the docs. Okay, so we are going to... I'm going to leave this here for the moment. And then I'm going to change this up to axis rotation. And then we're going to come down here. We are going to comment you out, and we are going to go with axis rotation. What's your problem? Add oh. Axis rotation 3D. Okay, so I guess now the question is, how the heck do I use this thing? Because for the flipper, that's all we want to do. Is I want to rotate about an axis. Okay. Geometry model 3D, rotate transform 3D. Got it. Rotation transform. X-axis rotation. This goes back here. This goes back to XS group. Got it. Okay, so that goes there. That goes there. Everyone is happy. Okay, and axis rotation dot axis. We are going to rotate it about... I guess we want to rotate it about the z-axis, right? So z-axis. Okay, and then axis rotation angle is not set, but that is what we are going to do down in this. So rather than doing all of this, we're just going to go with rotation y. And do you have a... I guess the center doesn't really make sense, does it? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to try that. Because, boy, that sounds a heck of a lot easier. All this fancy math. Rotating an object around. Okay. Well, okay, so I think we can conclude very conclusively that's the wrong axis. Okay, so we'll try this. Y-axis. Try again. Okay. Now we're at least back to where we were. If we do minus 45, we start seeing it rotate out. Interesting to me that these corners are shifting. It's like, oh, it's got to be because of my look at point. I'm 100 back from this. Interesting. Yeah. Got it. Okay, so if that's the case, well, which is why it gets bigger when it rotates towards me. So if I want to spin this thing, what is the right way to do this? I gotta think in 3D space. The object, I want it to be centered. My field of view, scale needs to be the look at point center. Rotational transform center. I'm gonna do I don't think that's gonna make a big difference at all. And we're gonna put the Z scale back in. But I think this is a little closer. At least in terms of what conceptually what I want to think about when I do this. So size Z is 0, so it's gonna still be 0, so that's fine. We'll let it live. And this should still be the same, yeah, because it shouldn't be doing anything fancy. So if I have a plane, because right now I'm rotating about this, how do I shift it such that its center I think I want to actually take the object and shift its position. Such that it's centered about the origin rather than having its edge about it. I don't know where model visual group. Let's see. Yeah, I could translate it. The X offset is going to be Well, let's boom. So it translate transform like that. And so this down here becomes translate transform offset x. It's bounds size in x divided by 2. And I want it negative because I want to bring it backwards along the x-axis where it should sit there. I have a feeling what this is going to do is it's going to shift the box and not my center of origin. Did what I expected. Yeah, but now when I do... Okay, so now it's rotating about the bit that I expected to. Okay, so that's fine. Aside from the fact that I'm rotating about slightly the wrong point. So if that will get it there, I think what I can do then is just tweak the axis of rotation. I'm going to leave you there. Because this is y-axis. How is that going to work? Because this is just doing a matrix transform. It's ultimately going to tweak that. How do I shift this such that I position it accordingly? Model bounds. So I'd like to center because I want to center the model itself about the origin. And that's where I'm not sure I understand how to do this. Center. Okay. Do this. On. Rotate it around its center. You first need to translate so the center is at the origin, then rotate it. Okay, I mean, I could do that, but I don't really want to. And set the center of rotation of the transform 3D. Okay, so that's kind of more what I was envisioning. I'm wondering if I said U to 100, U to 100. I'm going to try this, and then I may try to just shift the axis over. I think if I move the axis over, I don't know exactly how that's going to play out, but we'll see. Okay, so this is still... Oh, hang on. Why is there a translate transform in there? because I left it in there. Try that one more time. Okay, put it up. Okay, so it's at least rotating around the center that I expect. I think it's rotating about the center that I expect. So let's hang on. I think this is part of the problem. I don't think I want all of those set. Yep. Or I just do these one at a time. One of these is going to be on the mark, I bet. Right? A strange feeling that camera distance point of origin is going to bite me here in a moment. Okay, we're gonna let's come back over here. Private, this, that's your timer. Gonna do this for a moment. I think what I want to do is make this thing spin. Let's see, timer, tick. Fly, and then I want to set some sort of interval of time span from seconds, tick every, I don't know, 5 times a second. Sounds great. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we are just going to run the rotation from might want this to take a little faster. Int rotation 0. Locked increment ref rotation. Let's see. Result gets if result greater than 90, result get minus 90, and then we're going to do there. Oh, I probably have to start the timer. That's probably not going to do much ticking if we don't tell it to go. Okay, so we'll have a timer. We'll just have it tick. This way I don't have to keep typing stuff. And we can use those values for other things. Okay, so we need this timer being a little faster. Actually, you know what? We'll have we'll just multiply the result by 10, I guess. Oh, this is never going to reset. Let's see. Okay. That kind of helps see roughly where we're sitting. So we can see where the center of rotation is. It's currently somewhere off to the left. Okay, now what we can do is we can start adding features to tweak this. So that, I'm a little surprised center of Z. Unless this origin isn't where I think it is. So what's weird about this is I've moved the origin further left, or I should say further to the right, and it's acting further left. Wonder what happens if we go the other way. So now it's just making a bigger circle. Okay. About ready to get rid of the button click too, so I don't have to keep doing that. Setting the Y doesn't do a darn thing. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to change the axis of rotation. I have a feeling that's going to be a little wrong because that's a vector. And giving the x component of the vector. Yeah. Not horribly shocked. Okay. Because it should just be multiplying the angle by the matrix, which is how we're getting this here. Okay. That makes sense. Axis rotation, this is angle in degrees, right? This isn't something stupid that I'm doing. In degrees. Okay. Good. This field of view is still what I'm not grokking. Because I can see what is happening. And I can tell that we're starting at our point. And then we're backing up some distance. Because the field of view wants to be a... Let's just double check what this ends up being. Field of view is just set to 45. And this thing is just, I believe the intent here is just backing up such that 45 degrees of the camera view encompasses the entire target. We're attempting to look. The look at point is 200, 200. So this guy here. That's interesting. Those numbers don't line up with what I would expect. And maybe that's part of the problem. These bounds are different than what I expect. The location is weird. The X and Y are very different. Okay, so this model isn't as I would expect. Where did model come from? So this model is different than what I would expect it to be. So let's, because it's ending up not, it's being offset by some amount, and I don't understand where those values are coming from. Okay, so get content bounds. Okay, those numbers make sense. We set our border to 200, 200. That works. If visual is viewport 3D, which it's not, okay, include empty visuals, don't care. Bounds is empty. Bounds width, bounds height, so we have a thingy. What is Z here? Z is 0. Okay, so left, right, right, left, bottom, bottom, top. Okay. No idea what triangle indices are good for. Okay. Make brush from visual. Draw outlines, that's something we'll end up getting rid of. Drawing context. Offset matrices, great. Great. Drawing context. Size. DPI, DPI. The scale gets set to 1, which is as expected. Pixel format is always going to be set. We render the visual. Okay. Image brush. Material. Okay. Aside from those triangle indices, nothing there seems to be a problem. Geometry model 3D. Back material. Does this thing not have a constructor that would let you set both? Huh. Interesting. Values null. Okay, so interesting. Z minus equals 1 for reasons. Matrix should be identity. Get offset. Well, look at that. Because I offset my original item with horizontal and vertical alignments, this thing has stuff. Okay, so we're gonna just make our life a little easier. We're gonna do this. Okay, we may have been fighting this whole time with it being off because a couple of values. Turn that off. Let's see, step out, and let's just confirm. Jump down to here where we saw it before. Model. Look at that. That looks significantly more accurate. Okay. Okay, now it's swinging about an exact 0 axis, which is what we expect. Comes out to the front, jumps. I think it's actually because of my if logic, it's getting an extra 10 degrees. Whatever. Okay. So let's try this. Because now I think we should be able to get this thing to offset appropriately. Okay, that is definitely not right. Now that we don't have a weird thing, so center of Y. So shifting the center of Y rotation off of 0 and over 100. It might be center X that I actually want to change. Because we're going about Y. So I would have thought D would have been the appropriate one, but let's... Goal! About time. About bloody time. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we're going to clean some stuff up. We are going to clean some stuff up. So we don't need the translate transform. We ain't going to use it. Okay. Don't need those. Ain't going to use it. Don't need this. Ain't going to use it. Which means we don't need any of this garbage. And update 3D has no reference. We ain't going to use any of this garbage. Okay. Not going to use any of this. Not going to use any of this. We don't actually want that. I don't believe. Which means this matrix... I don't even think we want to get the transform off the visual. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we don't want any of this. Because we're going to be using this specifically for Flipper and nothing else, I think we can start making some really big sweeping assumptions about this. For example, we don't need the pen. We're not going to ever draw outlines. Those are two things we're just going to scrap right out the gate. U off. Turn U off. This may not matter because visual may not end up being inside of here. Pretty sure we don't need this guy either, because I'm pretty confident we don't ever fall into this if condition. The viewport is never going to be null. Yeah, so I'm just going to get rid of this altogether. Make that a little cleaner. Which means this invocation is never going to be set. Pixel format we're never setting, but we're going to leave it for now, as there may be a useful point to it later on. which means we don't need any of this reflection magic. Means we don't need any of this. Under visual. Trying to remember, are you your target bitmap? Do you come with a? You don't. Not sure if that came with a dispose method on it or not. Okay. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. Clean some of that up. Ba-bum, ba-ba-bum. All of you work. Don't need any of that. I suspect we can clean up some more of these things. Include empty visuals, false. Don't even want to consider those as things. We're just going to get rid of that. Visual viewport 3D. I don't think we care about that. We're never going to have a visual 3D inside of this flipper. Be a little unusual. That can be static now. Yeah, let's make sure we haven't broken anything yet. And we'll keep going because there's probably more we can delete. Ooh, he broke something. Okay, so let's come in here and just see what it was we broke. Might have to start undoing things until I find what it was. Okay, so come in here. Visual should have a should all line up with what we saw before. Good. Children count. Might need to handle or let that stay there. And then this really needs to be bound size x divided by 2. Not sure where the issue is. That all looked like it did what I expected. We're gonna just take a quick investigative look at this guy. Okay, scroll viewer grid. That guy. That is all as expected. What did I do wrong in here now? Start undoing things until we get back to where we were, and then we will go a little slower. Unless I see my mistake as I am undoing things. Thought everything we did was pretty safe. start there and see if that brings us back to working. Point off. Does. Okay. So let's come back through here and I'll just clean stuff as I go. Be a little more methodical. Visual is a border. Guess we can leave that there. Include empty visuals. We're never going to do this. All works. Hang on. When do we get down to brush from visual? I'm gonna catch it here because this is where I thought I could blow away this entire if condition. Oh, if viewport is, got it. Got it. I misread this condition. Got it. So that deletion is almost assuredly what did it to me. Okay, and that does look more appropriate. Okay. Okay, so that'll clean that up. Don't want any of that. I don't want to delete it just yet. Descale. I think I'll leave it, but I don't think we're going to use it. Translate transform is now dead. Axis transform goes away. X-axis goes away. That goes away. Name you to match the rest of the other children. Make you be created in the constructor anyway. Let's see, move you up. You up. Axis rotation. Should be able to set you now, because this will have static access. That should work. That. Oh, hush. Hush now. There. I don't need to set that anymore. Do need to set you. D. What is this value used for? This value used anywhere? No, it's not used anywhere, so we're just going to get rid of it. Actually, let's leave this as Z for now. We're gonna just declare it up front. Const, and this one's a double, doesn't it? Yeah. Const double Z gets there. That way the rest of this code can keep working, but I don't have to think about it too hard. Oh, interesting. So I can't make you a const. Okay. Oh, interesting. That's the point of it for recursion. Okay, we'll put it back. Put it back. It's a weird API, but it's private, so I don't care. That'll work. Gives me that. That gives me that. Gives me that. Okay. So we're gonna come over here and we're gonna change some stuff up. Let's see. Front, back, we'll make you blue. Okay, and then we're going to do grid column definitions. Column definition, ding, ding. Okay, and then grid column 1, and then when we add in the spinny dude, we're gonna just make him be grid set column span 2 will be front do that in for now. I'm not going to make you do anything. Okay, so storyboard and can be loaded at will. Now we're going to make this thing start working nice for us. I think what I'm going to do is get rid of... Already got rid of all my... Already got rid of all my text boxes, so that's fine. Okay. So let's get this thing working for front and back content. Because I would like to have this thing work for both. So that it's clear when it's spinning what it's wrapping. And I think front, visual, back. Okay, I think we can do that. We come down here and we go with back. Okay, so we've got both of those. Now I think what I need to do is pass both of these in here. Because I think this back material is what I actually want it to be. We're going to do front visual, back visual. Okay. Make you static, which is cool. Hold on. This might be at the wrong level. Because how does this recursion then work? So if there is... This would normally just do a plain model, but if it contains extra children, it's going to add these children to a group. Okay. Huh. And so it's going to change up the return type from either be a model 3D group. I'm wondering if I should just wrap this. Because this is going to come back as either a group and then diffuse material. So this is going to be the 3D model is effectively just a plane, with the material being the rendered image over the top. But when you go to a group, it's going to end up doing this same thing and adding these things in. Okay. I think what I actually want to do is change this so that I end up with 2 of these. So I don't want this to be taken in 2. I want it to only take in the 1. And then up here, front model. And then I'm going to want to do something with back model. But for now, let's assume these things are the same size. So this will be back model, back. And Z should get 0 again. We'll layer those things through. Okay, so which is all good, I think. We may end up wanting to hard code the Z. I'm wondering if that initial 1 is the separation that you see in snoops. Is fine. Okay, so how do I get I guess more importantly, lookup point and Z. Scale. Kind of wondering if this really needs to be set anymore. Let's see what happens if we don't set it. Yeah, I'm thinking we don't need the Z. Thinking we don't need it. And I'm actually wondering if I should change my rotation-y bit. Let's just let it spin all the way around, because I do want to see the back rather than just doing the I can't tell what the front and the back is yet, so that we'll see if that ends up working. Okay. And actually, while we're in here, let's make our life a little bit easier and eliminate that button. So loaded plus equals, boom. So this is going to do the work that was previously in the button click so that I don't have to think too hard. We stop having buttons.